Welcome to the Korean Billionaire Love Stories. The channel will bring you stories of strong bonds, cultural differences, passionate love, and unforgettable dramatic events. If you love interracial love stories and cinematic storytelling, then this is the place for you. Enjoy listening. Please subscribe to the channel to hear more great stories.
I had learned early that in Las Vegas, the difference between a smile and a transaction was usually about 5 seconds and one bad decision. That night, I was balancing a tray of drinks worth more than my weekly rent, weaving through a sea of tailored suits and glittering gowns, pretending I did not hear the kinds of offers that always came after midnight. The VIP floor was louder than usual, money moving fast, people laughing too hard, like they were trying to outrun something they refused to name. I kept my head down, did my job, counted tips in my head while calculating how much more I needed to cover my father's hospital bill and the student loans that never seemed to shrink. Survival math. Simple. Brutal. Non-negotiable. Then he grabbed my wrist. Not rough at first, just firm enough to stop me mid-step. I turned, already forcing a polite smile, expecting the usual. A request. A joke. A number slipped across the table like I was part of the menu. But the man sitting there did not smile back. His eyes were sharp and patient, the kind that did not expect to be told no. "Come with me," he said, like it was already decided. "I am working," I replied, keeping my voice even, my hand steady on the tray. "I can call someone else for you." His grip tightened. The smile slipped off my face. "I did not ask," he said quietly. "You ever feel the room shift without anyone moving?" That was it. Conversations around us blurred. The music faded into something distant. I knew this moment. Every girl on this floor knew it. The line where your job stopped being service and started becoming something else entirely. "No," I said. Just one word. But it cost more than anything I had said all night. The air went cold. His expression changed, not loud, not dramatic, just offended. Like I had broken a rule that no one had bothered to explain to me. Two men appeared behind me before I could react. Security, but not the kind that worked for the casino. Their hands were already on my arms, firm, controlled, practiced. The tray slipped from my grip, glasses shattering against the floor, but no one came to help. No one even looked. "Private hallway," one of them muttered. And just like that, I was no longer part of the room. They moved fast, guiding me through a side door, away from the lights, away from the noise, into a corridor that felt too quiet for a place built on chaos. My heart pounded, so hard it hurt. I twisted once, trying to pull free, but their grip tightened instantly. "Relax," the first man said, almost bored. "You will be taken care of." Taken care of. The words made my stomach turn. At the end of the hallway, a set of private elevators stood waiting, polished steel reflecting a version of me I barely recognized. One of the men reached forward to press the button, but before his finger touched it, the doors slid open. No sound, no warning, just open. A man stepped out. He did not rush, did not raise his voice. He simply stopped when he saw us, his gaze moving from my restrained arms to the men holding me, then to the man who had ordered it all. The shift was instant, not loud, not visible to anyone who did not know what to look for, but I felt it. Power, quiet and absolute, settling into the space like it had always been there. He reached up, unfastened his cufflinks with slow, deliberate movements, and placed them into the hand of the guard standing beside him without breaking eye contact. Then he spoke. "Break the room, not her." That was it. No explanation. No hesitation. The men holding me froze, just for a second. Then everything moved at once. Their grip on me vanished like it had never been there. The man behind me stepped back. The one in front of me lowered his eyes. Somewhere behind us I heard movement. Fast, violent, controlled. But he did not look at any of that. He looked at me, and for reasons I could not explain, that scared me more than everything else combined. Why would a man like him stop for someone like me? The penthouse door closed behind me with a soft click that sounded far louder than anything on the casino floor. I stood there for a second longer than I should have, my hands still tingling from where they had grabbed me, my heart trying to slow down and failing. Everything felt wrong. Too quiet. Too clean. Like the chaos I had just come from had been cut off mid-breath and sealed somewhere far below me. I turned slowly, taking in the space, and for a moment, I forgot how to breathe. Floor to ceiling windows stretched across the entire wall. The Las Vegas Strip, glowing beneath us like a living thing, pulsing with light and noise I could no longer hear. The furniture looked like it belonged in a museum, not a place people actually lived. Every surface was perfect, untouched, controlled. It was beautiful in a way that made my chest tighten instead of relax, because nothing about this felt like freedom. It felt like distance. Stay here. His voice broke through my thoughts. Calm, direct, like everything he said. I turned to face him, my body still tense, my mind catching up piece by piece. I have a job, I said immediately, the word sharper than I intended. I need to go back. No, he replied. Just that. No explanation. No argument. I took a step forward, anger rising now that the fear had somewhere to go. You do not get to decide that. His gaze shifted to me fully for the first time since we stepped inside. Not dismissive, not annoyed, just steady, measuring. You were taken from my floor, he said. That makes it my problem. I am not your problem, I shot back. A pause. Small, but it landed. Then do not act like one, he said. The words hit harder than they should have. I clenched my jaw, forcing myself not to react the way he expected. You cannot just keep me here, I said, my voice lower now, controlled. That is not protection. That is control. You are safer here. There it is, I said, letting out a short, humorless laugh. That sounds exactly like a cage. Silence stretched between us. Not uncomfortable, not tense, just there, like he was letting me hear my own words echo back at me before deciding what to do with them. He did not argue. He did not correct me. He simply walked past me, crossing the room with the same quiet confidence that had followed him since the moment those elevator doors opened. He picked up a glass from the counter, poured himself a drink, and spoke without looking at me. No one will come here without my permission, he said. No one will touch you. No one will ask anything from you. That does not make it better, I replied. It keeps you alive. That again. Always that. I turned away from him, pacing once across the room, my reflection catching in the glass like someone I did not fully recognize. A girl in a borrowed space, standing too high above a city that had never cared whether she made it or not. You think I cannot survive without this, I said quietly. Without you. I think you already know the answer to that, he replied. I stopped, because he was not wrong, and I hated that more than anything. The next morning proved just how quickly things could change. I woke up in a bed softer than anything I had ever slept on, sunlight spilling across the floor in a way that felt almost unreal. For a second, I forgot where I was. Then it all came back at once. The hallway, the elevator, his voice. Stay here. I got up immediately, pulling on the clothes I had worn the night before, my mind already set on one thing. Leaving. I moved toward the door, expecting resistance. A guard. A lock. Something. There was nothing. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the handle before I opened it slowly. The hallway outside was empty. No one stopped me as I walked toward the elevator. No one questioned me as I stepped inside. The doors closed, and for a brief moment, I felt something close to relief. Then the elevator did not move. I pressed the button again, and again. Nothing. A soft chime sounded, and a voice came through the speaker. Calm, professional, detached. Access is restricted. Of course it was. I leaned back against the wall, closing my eyes for a second, letting the frustration settle into something colder. Not panic, not fear, understanding. He had not locked the door. He had locked the world outside it. When the elevator finally moved, it did not take me down. It took me sideways, opening onto another private floor I had never seen before. A woman stood there waiting, dressed in a uniform that looked more like executive attire than anything service-related. Miss Brooks, she said with a polite smile, we have prepared everything you might need. I did not ask for anything, I replied. No, she said gently, but it has been arranged. Arranged. That word again. By the time I made it back to the casino floor hours later, everything had already changed. Conversations paused when I walked by. Eyes followed me in ways they never had before. Not curious, not friendly, assessing, whispering. That is her. The one from last night. Penthouse. The word carried weight. More than I understood. More than I wanted. My supervisor, the same man who barely looked at me most days, suddenly stood straighter when I approached. His tone softened. His attitude shifted, like I had become something else overnight. I hated it immediately. "I am clocking in," I said, moving past him without waiting for permission. He hesitated, then nodded too quickly. "Of course. Whatever you need." Whatever you need. It sounded wrong coming from him. Everything did. The other girls avoided me. Not out of cruelty. Out of distance. Like standing too close to me might change something about them too. I caught fragments of conversation as I passed. "She is his now. Do not get involved. You know how this works." No, I did not. And I did not want to. By the time my shift ended, I was more exhausted than I had been the night before. Not physically, mentally, emotionally, like I had been forced into a role I never auditioned for. When I returned to the penthouse that night, he was there, standing by the window, the city stretched out beneath him like something he owned. I did not wait. "I am not staying here," I said. He did not turn around. "You already are." "I mean it," I snapped. "I am not yours. I am not some girl you keep upstairs and decide things for." Now he turned. Slow. Controlled. Focused entirely on me. "Then leave," he said. The words hit harder than anything else he had said so far, because for the first time I realized something I had not let myself see before. I did not know if I actually could. I told myself I would stay out of it, that whatever power moved behind the walls of that casino, whatever deals were being made in rooms I was never meant to see, had nothing to do with me. I had a job, a purpose, a life that existed before that elevator door opened. I clung to that version of myself like it was the only thing keeping me from disappearing into something I could not control. But the truth is, once you are seen by people like him, you do not get to go back to being invisible. It started with the looks, not the curious ones from the staff. Something sharper. Strangers who lingered too long near my station. Men who did not order drinks but watched who I spoke to, how I moved when I left the floor. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. That paranoia was just another side effect of being pulled into a world that did not belong to me. But paranoia does not leave patterns. And this did. 3 nights after I went back to work, the pattern broke. I was halfway through my shift when the lights flickered. Just once. Subtle. Most people did not notice. But the energy shifted immediately. Conversations slowed. Dealers glanced at each other. Security moved differently. Not visible, but faster, tighter, like something had just gone wrong behind the scenes. "Stay on your floor," my supervisor whispered as he passed me, his voice low, urgent in a way I had never heard before. "Do not move unless someone tells you to." That was the first time I realized something bigger was happening. The second came when the man at table 7 stood up too quickly, his chair scraping against the marble floor with a sharp, jarring sound. He looked around, eyes darting, calculating exits instead of odds. His hand slipped into his jacket, not for money. Something else. I froze. Across the room I saw them. Not security. Not staff. Men in suits who moved like they were not part of the casino, but owned a different layer of it. One of them met my eyes for a fraction of a second, and something in my chest tightened instantly. Recognition. Not of him. Of what he was. This was not a game anymore. Everything happened at once. A hand grabbed the man at table 7 before he could take another step. Another blocked the nearest exit. Voices dropped. Controlled. Sharp. No shouting. No chaos. Just precision. I stepped back, my tray trembling slightly in my hands, my instinct screaming at me to get away. To disappear, to pretend I was not there. But I was. And someone noticed. The man being restrained twisted suddenly, his gaze locking onto mine like I had just stepped into a spotlight I did not ask for. For a second, everything else faded. The room, the noise, the movement, just him. "You," he said, his voice rough, strained but clear enough to cut through everything. "You saw." My blood ran cold. "I did not see anything," I replied immediately, but it came out too fast, too defensive. That was enough. The look in his eyes shifted. Not fear, not anger, calculation. Then he smiled. That was worse. "Now you matter," he said quietly. Before I could react, before I could even process what that meant, he was pulled away, his words hanging in the air like something I could not shake off no matter how hard I tried. The room reset itself within minutes. Lights steady. Music back. People laughing again like nothing had happened. Like it never had. But I knew better, because I could still feel his eyes on me, even after he was gone. I lasted until the end of my shift. Barely. Every second stretched longer than it should have. Every movement felt watched, measured. By the time I stepped outside into the night air, my chest was tight, my thoughts racing. My body caught somewhere between adrenaline and dread. That was when the first car slowed beside me. I did not stop walking. The window rolled down anyway. "Miss Brooks!" A voice called out, smooth, controlled, unfamiliar. I kept moving. "Do not make this difficult." I stopped, slowly, turned. A man stepped out of the car. His posture relaxed in a way that made my skin crawl. Not rushed. Not threatening. Just certain. "You were present earlier," he said, like he was confirming a fact already proven. "I work there," I replied, my voice steady despite everything inside me tightening. "Yes," he said, "and now you are more than that." There it was again. More. I took a step back. "I do not know what you think I saw, but I am not involved." He smiled slightly. Not kind. Not cruel. Just knowing. "That is the problem," he said. "You are involved whether you want to be or not." My stomach dropped. Behind him, another man shifted slightly, his eyes never leaving me. Not aggressive. Not hesitant. Just waiting. "For your own sake," the first man continued, his tone softer now, almost polite, "it would be wise to stay somewhere secure." My pulse spiked. Secure. Penthouse. Him. "No," I said. The word came out, stronger this time. His smile did not change. "That is unfortunate," he replied. A pause. Then he stepped closer, just enough to make the space between us feel too small. "Because the next time someone comes to ask what you saw," he said quietly, "they may not be as patient." Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. Then he stepped back, like the conversation had already ended. "Think carefully, Miss Brooks." The car door closed. The engine started. And just like that, they were gone. I stood there alone, the city still loud around me, the lights still bright, the illusion of normal still intact. But inside, everything had shifted that I was not just a waitress anymore, I was a witness. And in a city built on secrets that made me a target, I stopped running from it the moment I realized running would not make me invisible again. The fear was still there, sitting under my skin, sharp and constant, but something else had started to grow beside it. Anger. Not loud, not reckless, just steady. The kind that comes from being pushed into a corner too many times and finally deciding you are done shrinking. If they were going to treat me like I mattered, then I was done pretending I did not. I went back to the penthouse the next night, not because I trusted him, not because I wanted his protection, but because I needed answers, and in this city he was the only one who ever gave them without lying. He was exactly where I expected him to be, standing by the window, the lights of the strip stretching out beneath him like a map he had already memorized. He did not turn when I walked in. He did not need to. "You should not be out there alone," he said. "I am not here for advice," I replied. Now he turned. Slow. Controlled. Focused. "Then why are you here?" I stepped closer, stopping just far enough away that I could still pretend this was my choice. "Because I am not going to be your girl," I said, each word deliberate, steady, unshaken. "I am not staying hidden in your penthouse while people decide what I am worth." Silence settled between us, heavy but not hostile. He studied me the way he always did, like I was a problem he had not solved yet. "I never said you were mine," he replied. "You did not have to," I shot back. "Everyone else already decided that for you." That landed. I saw it in the slight shift of his expression, the way his eyes narrowed just enough to acknowledge the truth in it. "Then stop acting like it," he said. I let out a short breath, almost a laugh. But there was nothing funny about this. That is exactly what I am trying to do. Another pause. Longer this time. "You want to work," he said. It was not a question. "Yes." "Here." "Yes." His gaze did not waver. "You do not know what that means." "Then teach me," I replied. The word surprised even me, but once they were out, I did not take them back. Because this was the only way forward that did not make me feel like I was being owned or erased. For a moment, I thought he would refuse, that he would shut it down the way he shut everything else down. But instead, something changed. Not softened, not weakened, just shifted. "Fine," he said, just like that. No speech, no conditions. That was the beginning. The first few days were brutal. Not physically, mentally. Everything moved faster than I was used to. Decisions made in seconds that affected millions of dollars. Patterns hidden inside noise. People who smiled while calculating how to take something from you without you noticing until it was too late. I started small, observing, listening, learning how the floor actually worked beyond trays and tips. Not perfect, not yet, but I saw things. Small inconsistencies. A dealer hesitating half a second too long. A player signaling in ways most people would miss. A shift in betting patterns that did not match luck. On the fourth night, I stepped in. It was subtle. A high roller table. Big money. Bigger egos. The kind of place where mistakes cost more than most people made in a year. I noticed it before anyone else did. A pattern repeating, too cleanly, too controlled. "He is counting," I said quietly to the floor manager. He barely glanced at me. "Everyone here counts." "Not like that," I replied. He hesitated. Just for a second. That was enough. The hand played out. The pattern held. The numbers aligned exactly the way I expected. The manager stiffened. Security moved in. Controlled. Quiet. Clean. Just like everything else here. Afterward, the manager looked at me differently. Not like a rumor. Not like a problem. Like an asset. Word traveled fast. By the end of the night, people were watching me again. But this time it was not because of him. It was because of me. I found him later, back in the penthouse, exactly where he always was. "You let it play out," I said. "I wanted to see," he replied, "if I would fail. If you would understand." I crossed my arms, leaning slightly against the table, not looking away. And a small pause. "You did." That was it. No praise. No approval. But it meant more than anything else he could have said. "I am not staying here," I said again, quieter now but no less firm. "I know," he replied, "and I am not yours." "I know." The words settled differently this time. Not a challenge, not a rejection, a fact. For the first time since this started, I felt something shift between us. Not control, not protection, respect. And somehow, that made everything more dangerous. Because now he was not just watching over me. He was watching me become something else entirely. The night of the high roller event, the entire casino felt different. Not louder, not busier, sharper. Like every person in the room understood that something important was about to happen, even if they could not name it. The chandeliers cast a glow that made everything look expensive enough to hide the truth beneath it. I stood at the top of the grand staircase, my hand resting lightly against the railing, my reflection staring back at me from the polished surface beside it. For a second, I saw the girl who used to carry drinks and avoid eye contact. Then she was gone. Talia. I did not turn immediately. I already knew it was him. "It is time," he said. I stepped forward. Each step down felt deliberate, measured. Not because I was afraid, but because I understood what this moment meant. The conversations below slowed. Heads turned. Eyes followed. Not whispers this time. Recognition. Something earned, not assumed. I reached the bottom and did not stop beside him. I stood with him. That mattered. The room settled into silence without anyone asking for it. That was his power. But what happened next was something else entirely. He did not raise his voice. He did not need to. "Tonight," he said, his tone calm but carrying through the entire floor, "we correct a mistake." A ripple moved through the crowd. Subtle. Controlled. But there. He gestured once. And they brought him forward. The man from that night. The one who had tried to take something that was never his. His confidence was gone now. Replaced by something tighter. Something desperate. But he still tried to hold onto whatever power he thought he had left. "This is unnecessary," he said quickly, forcing a smile that did not reach his eyes. "We can resolve this privately." "No," Si Jun replied. "We already tried that." The words landed like a verdict. The room watched. No one moved. "This man," Si Jun continued, "decided that my floor was his to abuse, that my staff was his to use." His gaze shifted briefly to me, just long enough. "In my house," he said, his voice dropping slightly sharper now, "no one touches what is not theirs." Silence. Heavy. Final. The man's composure cracked. "You cannot do this," he snapped, his voice rising now, losing control. "You know who I am connected to." "Yes," Si Jun said. A pause. and they agreed. That was it. The shift was instant. Not loud, not chaotic, just complete. The realization hit him all at once, his face draining of color as the truth settled in. Whatever protection he thought he had was gone. Remove him, Si-jun said. No anger. No emphasis. Just command. Security moved in. Efficient. Precise. The man struggled for half a second before understanding it was useless. Then he was gone. Not just from the room. From the system. From everything. The casino breathed again. Conversations returned. Music resumed. Glasses clinked. But nothing felt the same. Because everyone had seen it. Power, not hidden. Declared. I stood there, my pulse steady, my shoulders squared, no longer shrinking under the weight of eyes that used to make me feel small. I turned slightly, meeting his gaze. No words. None needed. Because this time, I was not the girl he pulled out of a hallway. I was the woman who walked down the stairs and took her place. And for the first time, I was not standing in his world. I was standing in mine. I used to think survival meant staying quiet, keeping my head down, and accepting whatever the world decided I was worth. But that night changed something in me. Not because he saved me, but because I stopped waiting to be saved. Power is not just money or control. Sometimes, it is the moment you refuse to be reduced to a role someone else chose for you. I walked into that casino as a waitress people overlooked. I walked out as someone they could not ignore. And the truth is, that choice was mine long before anyone noticed. If this story pulled you in, made you think, or made you feel something real, do not forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Would you have taken the penthouse or fought your way down those stairs like I did?